a lot of you are not going to really want to hear this, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you because you need to know this. It can actually help you move forward in your life. Now, I'm going to give you the honest truth that most people in this world will never be rich. And then also, you need to know that most of the people that you see online or on late night TV or whatever, they're fake. They're fake. And the sad part is that even worse than that, most people who will follow them will never get rich. People will spend their hard-earned money trying to do the things that they claim that they're doing to make all of this money, and they just end up making their life really, some people live in hell because they pile up credit card debt, default on debt, go into deep depression, and it's crazy. But something that a lot of people, what I want to talk about also, or what I want to explain in this video, is that you're not stupid for falling for this stuff. I must admit, in my early years, I used to believe, just like you're believing, but they make it sound so easy, but they're actually using psychological triggers that are within all of us. Let me tell you how the psychological trigger works. So if they say, well, work, you can work and you can start your own business on shoestring. You can become rich and not do too much work. You can start a faceless YouTube channel. You can get rich with Amazon. You could do the stock market or crypto or flip houses or start a marketing agency. All of these different things. They're selling course after course, mentorship, and all of this stuff. And I'm talking about from the person that's an average online guru all the way up to the top. Using this stuff on people. And I'll tell you one of the things that made me, that really got my mind focused in the right direction, is that when I put in my mind, especially after I got my first successful company, I was fortunate. I started my first successful company at the age of 20. Now, I wasn't making a lot of money at that time, but that company over time made me millions of dollars. But I made a lot of money for a 24-year-old. I was making over $100,000 a year. And that was a 24-year-old in 1994. The equivalent of what inflation is, that means that if you were to bring that into money right now, I would be making about $400,000 to $500,000 a year with inflation in today's money. And $400,000 or $500,000 a year in today's money is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But at the age of 24, I was making over $100,000 from a business that I started with $500. Now, here's the thing that came to my mind when I got that business moving forward, when I started making money with that business, that I was very protective of what my wife and I did to turn a $500 investment into $100,000 a year. It was 3 years later into $100,000 a year business, and then into multi-millions. Do you think that I would go out there and tell people exactly what I did to do it? That's why you'll hear people like Magic Johnson, Mark Cuban, people who are making a lot of money that you respect, and it just seems like they're just glossing over really what they did. Number one is that you don't want to go through what we went through to become successful. Most people don't want to go through it. Most people will not. And so what people start doing is they start jumping into this stuff that they see online. And I'm not selling nothing, so don't think that I'm trying to sell you anything. I would not, for my companies, I own 4 companies. I would not share my secrets of how I made those 4 companies very successful. I just would not do it. Now, what I would share with people is that you got to advertise, that you got to figure out how to get people to buy your product or service, and that you should use the internet. You should use all of the different tools that are available. But even the people that are teaching people to do marketing agencies and to advertise and do stuff, they don't even do it. They don't even really do what it really takes to do it. It's very easy to sell someone who is trying to make their life better. It is very easy to just, here, you're going to be on private jets, driving a Lamborghini. You're going to have stacks of cash. You're going to live in this big house. All you have to do is invest in my course. A large amount of people won't invest in their courses, but a good group of them will. And then they use that money to make it look like they're making money doing the thing that they tell you to go out and do. If they were making the money that they told with the way that they're teaching you to go out there and do it, they would not do it. Trust me, they would not do it. Because why would you go through people who are not mentally ready to be a business owner? Why would you want to deal with that? Why would you want to deal with that? Why would you want to deal with someone who started a business on their bootstraps, so to speak, and their mind isn't right? That's what was happening to me when I started my first company on bootstraps. I would go and talk to certain business owners, and yeah, they would give me advice, and I just took it. I did not try to come back and say, oh, it needs to be done this way. How about getting some success under your belt, young man or young woman, or middle age or senior? How about getting a little success under your belt before you start telling the person who is successful already the way that it needs to be? That's how, at the age of 20, I listened. But the thing is that the internet didn't exist at that time, and so I understand. That's why I said it's not your fault. The way information is out there, it is easy to fall into these traps. So people will ask me, they'll be like, Steve, what? I want to try to do something. What should I do? Maybe I want to start this Amazon business or this trucking delivery service or whatever it is, a plumbing service, whatever it is. You need to get with someone who can demonstrate that they are actually doing the business. And from what I've seen out there, it is very, very rare of these people that are online. They make very little money from, if any, with what they're telling you that they could do. The real estate people are not really investors, or maybe they have a few properties, or maybe they did one flip and then they think that they're, the guru of the world to teach people on properties. Maybe someone with Amazon, they sold a couple of products and then now they're selling people how to get products on there. How to sell products on Amazon. Let me ask you this question. If you were sitting there and you can make $1 million a year or $100,000 a year or whatever amount of money that could replace your income, would you sit there and go and teach other people how to do it? Why wouldn't you just make all the money? Ask yourself that question. Why wouldn't you just make all the money? I have people that reach out to me all the time and they're like, hey, can you set this up for me or do this for me or do that for me? And I'm like, there was a time with businesses and I saw these businesses face to face and I demonstrated in front of them face to face back when, even before cell phones existed. I used to have to go store to store, my wife and I, and demonstrate how we can help bring them more customers. And from doing that, I learned a huge lesson, is that most people are BSers, and that all of this stuff that you see on TV, or most of it, I won't say all, most of it, 99.9%, even with people who are telling you how to get out of debt, people who are telling you how to make more money, fix your credit, get these funding and all of that stuff. These people they got people telling people how to fix their credit and they got bad credit. People telling people how to fix their credit, they got bad credit. People telling people how to go out there and get funding for loans and they maybe got 1 or 2 loans. People telling people how to go out and get credit cards and they can barely get 1 credit card. And what it does is when and this goes to, how can you find out if somebody is really doing it? They need to demonstrate it. If they're not willing to demonstrate it for you, go to somebody else or don't do it, because you're going to save your money. As a matter of fact, I keep this on my desk. These are like little fake chips, because I bet on myself. If you need to bet on yourself, because if you give them your money, you're betting your money on them. Now, I know the reason why we want to have people do stuff like that, like if it's for business, I'm not talking about a service that someone is doing for you, but even for a service for them to ultimately get somewhere with that service or their product or whatever, they're going to have to be able to demonstrate it. Everything's about demonstration. But now, I say, rather than gambling on other people, you gamble on yourself. If you gamble on yourself, that means that whatever you decide to do, you're going to dig right into it, learn and do it. You can be successful. You could be that 0.01% that I'm talking about. That 0.01%. So let me give you an example. When I was 17 years old, before I joined the United States Army, at the age of 17, I got $1,500 from my granny, and my mother's mother, and it was to go and speak to this Spanish guy. Well, to have this Spanish guy that was in my area in downtown Dallas. He was going to teach me how to buy and sell and make money in real estate. He sat down with me, internet didn't exist in 1987. So he sat down right. I was at his desk. I'm on one side, he's on the other side, and he got these books that he had wrote, and he was telling me, this is what you do, explaining everything to me. And I was like, okay. And then he said, okay, now you're going to help me get a property. So, and the reason why you're going to help me is because I'm going to teach you what to do. You're going to learn like an apprentice. You're going to learn how to do this. And I went with him. And back then there used to be loans that were called assumable loans. And he was like, we're going to go downtown. We're going to look at the couples that are scheduled to get divorced. If they got a home, we're going to contact them, and we're going to say, okay, you have a home, you're getting divorced. We know things could be tough right now. What if we took this property off of your hands and gave you a couple of $1,000s to take, so you can walk away, and we'll assume the property, assume the payments. And some people would say no. Most people would say yes. And then guess what? He would get the house. Sometimes if the mortgage was very low, he would just rent it and make money. Other times he had the contract on the house. He assumed the loan. Back then it was called assumable loans. You can look this up, where his name was, he took the loan and they took their names off of it. Now you can't really find that, banks aren't really doing that now. But back then in the 80s and before that, they were called assumable loans. Get the loan, sell the house, profit. He was averaging back then, which would be a lot more money now, $5,000 to $10,000 profit. He would just be like, hey, look at this. But guess what? My mind wasn't right. I was only 17 years old. There was a whole bunch of real estate commercials on TV. So I was, just like you right now with all the stuff on the internet. I was like, maybe I can get rich in real estate. But I did get with someone who could demonstrate it for me. Like, okay, but I didn't know it at that time, so don't think I was some smart kid that would be like, I need to find someone who will demonstrate it for me. No, I just happened to come across that guy. That was the universe. That was the universe bringing me to a person I never knew, Spanish guy. Hey, I don't even know how I ran into this guy, but he taught me. My mind wasn't right at that time. I was young, ended up joining the Army. That's a picture of me at the age of 18. Spent a couple of years in there. But guess what? Years later, I would say 1996, bought my first property using what he taught me. In 1996, in my 20s. Now, that experience did not end upright. I was still not truly ready to be owning real estate, but I had money because I had my successful business. So I was like, hey, got my successful business, and now I wanted to be this real estate guru. Like everybody say, you get rich buying real estate or holding real estate. So I was like, let me get that duplex, rent it out. But it was a disaster. I learned pretty quick that it was in a different city than I lived in. And I was like, I don't want to own any real estate that I'm not in the city that I was in. So that we ended up selling that one, made a little bit of money, but it was, not as much as we could have. But that property, I bought it back then in 1996, about 36 grand. I saw it on the market years later for about 200 and some $1,000. And that was in like 2020. That was like, it had really appreciated. But I didn't live in that city, so that made it very tough when things needed to get fixed, and driving up there just didn't really want to do that. Also, the neighborhood wasn't the best. Years later, ended up doing some fixing and flipping, and that's where my wife got involved with those businesses, with those properties and buying and selling, and we made a killing. I remember on the first property, purchased it for $8,500. It was a total wreck. The house was a total wreck. I bought it on the spot. It was probably a bad decision, but I bought it on the spot. Ended up selling that property for $129,000. We had to put $40,000 worth of work into it, but that was a very good. Within 6 months, made all of that money. Next property that we did was a bigger one. Bought it for about 40 or 50 grand, needed a lot of work. I think we put about 100 into there, and we made $129,000 profit. 120. I remember I had that check. $129,000 profit on that one. Have done several. I did several other properties. We did end up buying another property from an estate sale for $65,000. And another property from a gentleman who was in real estate that was going to lose the property and needed the cash. So, but those were both in our city, and we rented those out for a number of years, and then ended up selling them and made very good profit on both of those properties. And then I ended up getting a my first commercial building, which I put my business inside, so we didn't have to pay any rent. What I did is the business paid me the rent. So that was like a pass-through income as an expense to the business, and then the money went to me and my wife. And we also ended up buying another commercial property, which is the one that I'm in right now, which is a huge, it used to be a bank building for Bank of America, and same situation with that. So what I learned, though, from that gentleman was about negotiating. Even though he wasn't buying commercial property at that time, I learned negotiation. And the building that I'm in right now, the bank building, they wanted to try to sell us this building for over $685,000. And the bank has the money, right? The bank has money, so they don't have to go down. We ended up getting this whole entire bank building with the safes and everything, the big vault, and 2 safes that they ended up leaving for $202,000. But the mind was right. The mind was right. And we've been able to do it with other businesses that we had that are very successful. So there's a psychological trick that's happening when people are struggling financially. They want hope. And the gurus sell hope packages as certainty. They say things like, this system will make you 6 figures. This system will make you 6 figures. This blueprint changed my life. If you follow these steps, you can't fail. You can't fail. But business and money does not work that way. There's no guarantees. And that is what one of the biggest problems that I see is that people think that being in business, that there's some type of guarantee. Here's the harsh truth. Most people who buy these courses will never succeed. As a matter of fact, 99.999%, 0.01% will only succeed at making any money, especially stuff like network marketing. there was one that I saw on a video where there was probably like 100,000 reps, and out of the 100,000 reps, probably only I think it was like 200 or 300 had made any substantial money. All of the rest had made like $50 to $100. So a lot of that stuff is just straight up scam. And the problem is that these gurus, they don't teach you emotional resilience, long-term discipline, real market understanding, the ability to fail repeatedly, and I call it fail forward fast. Instead, they keep jumping from Amazon course, crypto course, AI course, drop shipping. They're chasing the next shortcut, or they could call it chasing the I forget what they call it, chasing the gold, when in the tools, chasing the tools, the shiny object. So now let me give you the honest truth about making money. Most people who become wealthy do boring things consistently. And I can tell you that that is the truth. Building real businesses, solving real problems, developing skills over years, reinvesting profits. There is no magic blueprint. There is no overnight success. There is only time, skill, and persistence. You got to get that in your mind. Time, skill, persistence. There is no magic business. There is no business that is better than any other business. The only thing that you need to pay attention to is that that business has people who want to buy that product or service. If you have that, then you just got to figure out where you're at in the formula. Is it a totally new product that people don't even know anything about it? They don't know that they even had a problem. Like you'll see with these advertisements from drug companies. Like you got this twitch with your eye, and then they name it something like, I didn't know about that. And then all of a sudden they're introducing it. Is your product in that level, or is your product all the way on the other end? Like one of my companies that I have is a credit repair company. People know damn well the pain that they go through from having bad credit. Like they don't need to be introduced to needing to fix their credit. They have the pain. They fully understand it. They know the consequences, so they need to do something about it. So you got to find out where you're at with your business that you're looking at starting or getting into. And just in case you're thinking about starting a franchise, you could go and look that most franchises fail. And you might be saying, well, what? I got that McDonald's, and that one, McDonald's and all of them are always open. There's McDonald's, if you look, where they took it away from the franchisee. And they were like, we're taking your store away from you because we can't have this business closed down. But I could tell you, in my area, I've seen 4 Burger Kings closed down. And I've seen at least 2 McDonald's totally closed down that were very successful. But the owner, they could not find an owner to replace that owner that wanted to be in that area. And the corporate was like, we got one that's not too far away. We'll just leave it with that one. And so it doesn't matter if you're doing this online stuff, services, product, doing, forgetting the name, like McDonald's franchises. Sorry about that. It does not matter. It does not matter. If you don't get the mental skills, the mindset, the know-how, the persistence, and give it time, it's not going to work. Let me know what you think about this video. This is Stephen A. Williams with Making Money with Stephen A. Williams here on YouTube.